Good morning, doctor.
Morning. Sorry, a bit late today. Sekejap ya. I'm accepting request here. So we have 19, 18, including myself, 19. So while waiting for others, hello, Anna, how are you today, this morning? Okay, good, Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, almost complete second week of the semester. Sekejap je, guys. It's very fast. Right. So for today, I'm covering still on chapter 2 because chapter 2 we are having we're supposed to have 2 weeks for the chapter 2. Okay? So 2 weeks meaning six lecture hours. Okay. So for this week, very brief lah. On theory, hopefully, next week we are going to have like a bit not technical lah, like hands on the scheduling part. So for today, very simple lah. So I will cover all the slides on your lecture notes, and next week I'm giving you additional material later in Putra Blast lah. Okay, we're waiting for others. Yeah, we have 21 out of 33. I think someone will set me. Uh, okay, that's it. We have 21 now. So we go for the slide. Huh? You already have your assignment? And for other subject? Class?
Yes, doctor.
Assignment
Simple
already?
assignment.
Added assignment?
Simple assignment has been.
Today also I would like to give you a simple assignment. Yeah. It's, looking for the chapters which is it mentioned to me, one of your friend mentioned to me that the notes are different, so I'm downloading the chapters in the Putra Plus lah, so that I can see what's the difference. Okay, so 22. Okay, so for now, planning and scheduling, chapter 2, and just imagine that right. Anyone else joining? Okay. Can you see the slide? Boleh tengok slide?
Yes, can.
Okay, good. So this is we're still on chapter 2, and still on chapter 2. I think someone's right. Chapter 2 here, okay, is about planning and scheduling, and the things that we highlight is that the importance, right? The importance of planning. Then planning itself should contribute in terms of time management as well. If we go for the project management body of knowledge, they mention as time management. So how we manage the time in a way of to ensure that the time are fully satisfied in terms of timeline or what you have planned for the duration for the each of the activity. It will be apa kita panggil at the end of the project estimated as scheduled, right? So go for the slide that we stop on Monday. Okay. So project scheduling a process to deciding how the work in project will be organized as separate tasks and when and how these tasks will be executed. Tasks here, sometimes I mention activity, and these activities being indicate or decided by the project or between discussion among the team members, and then from there they decide, okay, those are the activity. Those activities also need to specify in terms of when. Okay, when here means that each of the activity, how long it will take and when supposed to be finished. Okay, and for that comes the in terms of manage and also organize. Okay, estimated calendar time itself, okay, may also involve the effort. Okay, effort here is the things that contributed by the team member or the person in charge for each task, and they perform that particular activity or task. Okay, so in the way of those tasks need to be performed by certain team members or maybe more than one member. Okay, so from there they perform the task, and based on the time given, based on the duration provided or allocated, from there they aim to finish at that time. Okay, so the estimation, okay, in terms of time or duration also involved in terms of resources, right? Resources here, the person, right? Or the workers, okay, or the team that I mentioned just now. So needed to complete each task, such as this space required. Then effort itself, instead of effort, there is a resources, right? So resources here can be anything related to that particular activity. Anyone else? Right. So from what we are going to have later is the one that we are going to apply. We are going to apply or introduce to the student several notation or diagram, which is those diagram to help or to assist the project during the project on the development and specifically on project scheduling. So project scheduling activities, okay, splitting into tasks and estimated time and resources. So there is three things, right? Okay, tasks or activities, how long each activity should be taken to complete, okay, should be performed to complete, and also resources. Resources here, for example, the team who are person in charge and also other resources like technology and other, okay, to complete all those tasks. Okay, so organizing the tasks, okay, concurrently to make optimal use of workforce. Okay, workforce is the human or the team. Okay, the person. So minimize task dependencies to avoid delay caused by one task waiting for another to complete. Okay, as I mentioned before, okay, the task itself, okay, being identified, specified clearly, okay. Then from there, to make sure that in what another thing is on the dependency. Dependency means that one task possibly are dependent to another. Okay, for example, yeah. For example, activity A, activity B cannot be you cannot proceed activity B unless activity A completed. Okay. If activity A delay, then it will give problem to activity B to start, right? So in a way of make sure activity A on time, complete on time, and from there, okay, maybe the other person, next person who are doing another task, they can focus on the activities assigned. Okay, so in a way of we are trying to avoid the delay. Okay, if activity A delay, then possibly activity B also delay. Okay, there are also situations where, as I mentioned before, like activity 1, 2, and 3, okay, or A, B, and C can be performed at the same time, okay, but time duration possibly different. Then proceed with the activity 4, right? So in a way of those arrangement, okay, it will be decided by the project members or the team, right? So what we want to avoid now is the things that to make sure every task or activity are on schedule. Okay, so that we at the end of the project no delays. Okay, we will talk later on the dependencies after this. Dependent on project manager's intuition and experience. Okay, as I mentioned before, project planning also include the project scheduling. Okay, project planning document. Okay, include also on project scheduling. Um, um, we record everything about the schedule. Okay, and in certain situation, not certain situation, usually that document, project planning is not a static document because they need to have some adjustment throughout the project. Okay, in a way of there's the importance of managers to to do some adjustment based on the situation happen. Okay, China. Like in the previous what you call in arrange in manage in terms of the project activity or tasks. Okay, what the other things that need to consider is on the milestone and deliverables. Okay, meaning that when you schedule the activity, okay, together with the timeline for each activity, okay, instead of that each activity they may have certain output. Okay, so when you perform activity A, what are the output or what are the things need to be produced after that activity? Okay, there is the milestone where, meaning that if you complete that activity, you produce the output, then there will be the milestone that okay, the activity are finished or done. Okay, so that is what we call milestone. Okay, in a way of, okay, when you complete the activity, okay, you have the milestone that will be an indicator, okay, to say that okay, we have done on that, so we can proceed to another activity. Milestone here, the things that what we have, like let's say Abu complete activity A, then what he or she, Abu, he is supposed to finish at end of this month, like 30th. Right now it's 28th, 30th. So what Abu need to prepare, possibly like if Abu doing on the requirement specification, okay, requirement specification gathering, requirement gathering. So usually the document should be produced is SRS, software requirement specification. So that will be a report, okay, to indicate that it's a milestone, okay, Abu have done on the activity, so that Once the document are approved, then can proceed to another activity which is dependent. Okay, that is milestone. Okay, milestone in the way of what are the end point of the process activity. The deliverables is the result is the SRS. Okay, so that is the SRS that indicate, okay, it's done already. So that is the difference between milestone and deliverables. To give example in class, this is RE. What is RE class? Yeah, can you see from this diagram what is RE stand for? Pagi-pagi kan, takut ada yang ngantuk lagi. What is RE? Do I need to call your name?
Requirement engineering.
Okay, thank you. Who's speaking?
Anis.
Rani.
Anis.
Anis. Okay, Anis, thank you. This is requirement engineering process. Okay, process, if you look here, process is a big one, requirement engineering, and inside requirement engineering, we have the activities. Okay, what I mentioned just now, example like activity 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that is just to indicate. Okay, give example. Now we go for a bit real one, right? So requirement engineering process is one of the process usually performed in the project. Okay, you have to capture, you have to elicitation, capturing, elicitate, store the requirement, then come up with one document or work product, right? So in the requirement engineering process, for example, here there are 5 activities: feasibility study, requirement analysis, prototype development, design study, and then up to requirement specification. Then you come up with the system requirement at the end. Okay, so these activities have their own deliverables. Okay, deliverables, which is those reports down there in the box, right? That is the deliverables. Okay, so usually deliverables or work product comes with a report lah. Okay, usually. So feasibility study is a feasibility report. You see how many reports here for one single requirement engineering process, at least, possibly more than this. Okay? So then you can see how many reports should be prepared during the development. Okay, this is one single process. Then other process, following process, right? So milestone, okay, the milestone there, okay, and those milestone have the deliverables. Okay? And this is about on the project scheduling process. Is there anyone else trying to waiting for me to admit? Supposed to another 6 7 7. So this is a project scheduling process. Usually can be follow this one or possibly later for the real one, maybe they have their own arrangement on the scheduling process. Okay, so this is one of it possible. So project scheduling process, identify activity. Okay, the software design requirements and design information here may be very brief. Okay, very brief, can be come from the customer or the user. Okay, of course we don't call it requirement. Requirement is the terms for the software engineers. Can be the what you call for the customer view or the end user view. You call it what they want lah, their expectation or the customer needs. Okay, so from those information, then the developers need to identify the activities, identify dependencies, resources needed for those activities, allocate people to activities, and create project chart. Okay, so project charts or notation that I mentioned just now is the diagram where from there um, uh, indicate or recite the information about the project scheduling. So what we have is the one describing the project schedule. Okay, project schedule itself actually one of the medium for communicating among the team members, including project managers, and also possibly can use to 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 explain and not explain but describe inside the diagram to others who are have certain interest or importance. Okay, because we are presenting is not about wording, it's not about report inside there, it's on the explanation in paragraph or explanation in words. Okay, but to simplify, to better understand, we need some diagrams or notations, and from there they can understand better. Okay, so what we have in project scheduling process here is activities. At the end here, hopefully, we have the diagrams or the notation to describe on the project scheduling. Scheduling problems a bit lah. Okay, before we move to the diagram. So scheduling itself, of course, can be one problem. They will creating problems if it's not well managed. Okay, we have very good plan, schedule, good diagram. However, another part is the implementation or how the the activities being guided using the schedule that being spelled out, okay, for the development. So the problems here, estimating the difficulty of problems and hence the cost of developing a solution is hard. Okay, so it's not easy. You may create the diagram, you may perform or doing the scheduling, but in a way of moving to the solution or implementation is not that easy. Okay, it's not that easy. So productivity is not proportional to the number of people working on a task. Talking about productivity and also people who are working or involved in the project. Okay, there is a, it's not proportional here means that if you add more people, your work progress will be better. Okay, it's not like at the same apa kita panggil proportional. Okay, it's not possibly in the same direction. Okay, let's say the estimated one is 5 people involved. But if you plan to speed up your progress, project performance, it doesn't mean that the productivity is there. Okay, talking about this productivity, actually, it's a very broad things because there is one Lehman law which is mentioned is not working that way because productivity is not about, okay, when you adding more people, let's say from 5 to 10, okay, productivity, it doesn't mean that it will be double. It's not that way. Okay, because there are certain or other factors influencing the productivity. It's not about the number, but it's also other factor, okay, which is in terms of the management perspective. Okay, another thing is that adding people to a late project makes later because of communication overhead. Okay, on the third point here, I share one of my master students are doing on this part, okay, for 2 years, I think 2.5 years, okay. I think in year 2011, if you look on my paper together with Mustafa, the student name is Mustafa. Now he's doing a PhD at Australia, I think. This is the one that he's doing the simulation, and from there, actually, it's not is correct. Means that for this statement is correct. Okay, if you are adding more people, it will makes it later because other factors, which is communication overhead, meaning that let's say from 5 you add 10. Okay, those another 5 that you adding to the project will give a problem, certain problems, because like for example communication overhead here, because these 5 people new to the project come in to the project, okay, joining the project, okay, and then they have to study, they have to understand the project. Let's say the project already in the middle, means that it's already I mean it's in progress, okay, means that it's ongoing. So if adding more people, meaning that these 5 people have to understand about the project, they need some time as well. However, we try to speed up, but actually they are also give not fully speeding the project actually, because they have to understand the project, they have to see everything, because they are new, they are still new, okay. So even in terms of communication, there are time needed for them in a way of to understand about the project, okay. That is one of the example. There are many factors actually, right? The unexpected always happen, okay. So the unexpected situation also we need to predict, okay. This one, on the unexpected condition, we will project, or we will estimate in the risk management later in chapter 3. Okay? So always allow contingency plan. That's why we need the contingency plan, the backup plan, okay. If certain situation happen, what are the backup plan? What should we do? So at least, although it's not happened yet, it's only prediction. However, you should have certain ideas or plans what can be done. Okay, if this happen, what can be done? That's why all those we are going to cover in chapter 3. So schedule representation or notation, yeah. So it is a graphical notation normally used to illustrate the project schedule. Okay, as I mentioned, I give example, like for example, on Monday, right? Activity A, 4 weeks. Activity 2, I think 2 weeks, and activity 3, 3 weeks. That is what verbal explanation, right? However, if I put in a diagram, graphical notation, it will be much better to illustrate, right? So in a way of, from there, actually, in the diagram itself, it represents more information, right? Instead of people listening to you, like you in the class listening to what I'm explaining. But when you put in a diagram, it's much better to illustrate, right? It's much better. So this show the project breakdown into tasks, should not be too small, take about a week or 2. Okay. In this case, a week or 2. Okay, this is very general. But later, when we look on the time scheduling or duration, usually during hands-on, I would like to have more real situation. Okay, depends on later how we do the hands-on. Because let's say, for example, the project is 1 year. Okay, the whole year, 12 months, actually, working days, how many working days? Is it 365 days plus? Maharaj? No, right? Because you have your public holidays, you have your weekends, right? You are not working 7 days a week. All right? Okay, so although let's say they mention, or they're expecting in 1 year, means that in terms of calendar, right? But inside the calendar, you have your weekdays, you have your holidays, right? Okay, so in terms of that, okay, it doesn't mean that you have 365 days for your project. Okay, so that's why when you plan, you have to plan in detail, and then the aspect in terms of duration, and also work activities lah, those activities. So this show the project breakdown into tasks. Task not so okay, it's already done. Then activity chart show task dependencies and the critical path. Okay, that later will be inside the charts. Okay, activity charts or diagram. Okay. Bar charts are the most commonly used presentation for project schedule. Okay, they show the schedule as activity or resources against calendar time. Okay, so for now that is the things that, but later when we go hands-on on the notation or the diagrams, you will understand better. Yeah. So As I mentioned, we may not have efficiently delivered the information through verbal or word in terms of documents, okay? In terms of graph, not word, it means that in paragraph or that. But from here, actually, if you show in a table, this is a table, right? So this table means that there are many things included here, right? So the matter of you understand, okay, what does it means, and usually when you share the graphical notation, the third party means that the other person who are looking at those graphical notation, they should understand, okay, because that is one of the communication medium in the form of graphical notation. So in here, in this table, task, person days or effort, durations in days, and dependencies. Okay. So T1, T2 is just to give very simple, but in reality should be named the activity, the specific activity. Okay. So for the second column, you just ignore that one. Okay. Just ignore that one. Just look at the duration in days. Okay, rasa. Ada lagi yang belum masuk ya. Okay, duration in days. Duration in days here and dependencies. Dependencies mean the work activity are possibly dependent to another other activity, one or more. Okay, one or more. Okay. So dependency here, M stand for milestone, yeah. N stand for milestone. T is means that dependency. Okay, dependency here T1 means that in T3, task 3, okay, duration needed is 15 days. Okay, the dependent activity is T1. Okay, and M is the milestone 1. So this is the information that being the arrangement in terms of the scheduling, okay, based on tasks. So for this particular example, we have 12 tasks, and that 12 tasks have the what you call the activity, the duration, and also the activity. What we have here, duration, tasks, and the dependencies. There is T1, T2, and T4. Okay, there are no dependency, meaning that no dependencies here. In the way of T1, T2, T4 can be done or performed early of the project. Okay, means that once you finish, means that those are the one that you have flexibility to start. Okay, T1, T2, and T4. Okay, then from there, you have to identify here what are the activity, the task, activity is task, yeah, have the dependencies. Okay, meaning here, okay, how to in terms of to understand this one. For T3, okay, task 3, okay, before you proceed task 3, you have to make sure T1 are completed. That is represent the milestone 1. Okay, meaning that if T1 not complete, meaning that you cannot proceed or you cannot perform T3, task 3. So that is the meaning, right? T2 and T4, okay, means that T5 you cannot proceed if T2 and T4 means that both. Okay, if you finish T2 early and then you delay on T4, means that you have to wait for T4 to complete. okay, task 4, then you can start with T5. Okay, it's an and. Okay, both need to comply if you have two activity, two dependencies here. Okay, so M3, M4, all this. So this is a milestone. Okay, that is how we indicate in terms of this particular table on the task, duration, and dependencies. So any question from here, class? This one, okay. In the hands-on later, okay, on the duration days here, we usually assuming that days 10, 15 there, the duration is the working days. Okay, not including the public holiday or the weekends. Okay, it's the working day, number of working days. So it's clear this one. Just to show you one is how to interpret this information inside the table. Instead of the table, actually one of the now just a very basic introduction, yeah, about the diagram first before we move to the detailed one. Another diagram or notation that we are going to introduce to the class is the network diagram or activity network. Okay, so it is the same network diagram or activity network. If you browse the image of activity network on in the internet using apa tu browse ni apa search engine ke apa anything like Google, you will get um, different way of representing or in terms of notation it's a bit different. Okay, however, what we introduce to the class maybe that the one you can follow. I mean one of it, and hopefully from there you can find the spirit or the find behind on doing the scheduling lah. Okay, how it helps you, how the notation helps you to manage on the scheduling. This is activity network. Okay, from the left to right. Okay, from your left to right. Okay, start and finish. Okay, and there is a box there, and also for M1, M2, all that. That is the milestone. Okay, this activity network is the one that delivered the information based on the diagram, based on the table just now. From this table, you can create activity network or network diagram. Okay, so this one. Okay, instead what we have start and finish, there we have also T1, T2, that is the task. Now the name of the task, and on the box there you have 8 days, that is the duration. Okay, for example T2 15 days. Okay, so the table just now delivered an information there. Okay, however you can also represent in the activity network or network diagram, okay, this kind of representation. Okay, start and finish, and then also the duration, the milestone, and if you look on that you can have also the estimated or when should we start. Okay, so if you consider as 4 is the day, is it right now? Okay, and also the time there. Okay, I think it's on the it's a format day, months, and year, right? Okay, yes. So meaning that you start in July and you finish in September, right? For this particular example. Okay, so together with the date here, okay, where the milestone should be prepared. Okay, this is the milestone. Okay, and in here also we have the concept in terms of dependency. Okay, what I can say here, for example, start of the project you can start on T1, T2, and T4. Okay, and then if you from there, okay, for T6, okay, you have to complete T1 and T2, and then you have to you can move to T6. Okay, and T4, okay, is T5 dependent to T4 and T2. Okay, so this is how we interpret all that. Okay, so for T4 as well, T8 as well, make sure T4 are completed, and then you can start on T8 and finish them. Okay, so this network diagram, okay, network diagram or activity network ni same lah dalam ini. You will find that there is a, I would say, a route or path. Path is laluan. Okay, laluan. For example, if you start here at Bangi, you want to your destination is KL, Kuala Lumpur. So possibly you have a different route, right? You have different route to can be followed so that you can arrive at KL, for example. So the same goes this one. What route here is the one that the path that we have to identify later, and that is the technique on performing the estimation, and also in the way of to help you as a developer here or manage the time. Okay, and with a certain condition. Okay, condition I will explain later what means by condition. Okay, so what from the diagram just now, okay, activity diagram just now, okay, from there we know the path. Okay, so the path is any route along the network. Network is the one that comes from here lah. Okay, this is a network. Okay, from start to finish, and this network, okay, from start to finish, okay, from there the path, so we can identify the critical path. Okay, the critical path. Okay, the critical path, which is important for you later to identify the critical path so that you can identify which one is the critical activity. Okay, critical activity is very important because this activity or task, okay, activity here means the task, okay, which is possibly later will influence your project success in terms of failure on the time or delay. That particular activity possibly influence your failure on time management. Okay, so critical path is the longest total duration. Okay, this is the shortest time which the project can be completed. What does it mean, longest and shortest there? Okay, so longest total duration means that how long, okay, from the path that you calculate later, calculate means there's some simple calculation later lah, okay, that you can, from there you can specify longest duration for not long, the estimated duration time can be allocated for the project based on the specified time and durations. Okay, and from there, meaning that that specified time that you calculated is the shortest time. Okay, the means that shortest time means that the earliest the project can be completed, because you already specify each of the activity or task how long it will take. So combination of those activities, then from using a network diagram and Gantt chart actually later, you can estimate the duration of the project. Okay, so that's why we mentioned that on scheduling side, it will help to manage the time management, to manage the time, okay, for the project. Okay, so meaning that this notation capable of to help the developer to make the estimation. Okay, make the estimation. Ada lagi yang belum masuk ke? Sekejap ya. 28. Okay, Faris, okay? Faris? Mana Faris? You prepared your class. Later after this, I will call your name lah. Nang ni nak tengok ni ada ke tidak ni. Faris, are you there? Khairi, Muhammad Khairi?
Ya, Doktor.
Okay. Faris di mana ni? Kucing ni, si kucing tak apa kucing. Boleh Faris ni, tukar profile tu. Prasan, are you there?
Yes, doctor, I'm here.
Okay. Okay. Obichi, Obichi? Obichi? Almost 10 already, sekejapnya. Obichi? Muhammad Taufik? Muhammad Taufik? Siapa yang tak ada ni ha? Taufik,
Yes,
are you
ada.
yang guys ni? Fahim Adlin?
Ada, Doktor.
Syarul?
Ada doktor, ada.
Muhammad Hanif? Ramai lelaki kelas ni ha? Muhammad Hanif? My other class 3 orang je guys. Mana Hanif? Tadi dah panggil ke? Muhammad Khairi?
Ya, Doktor.
Okay kan tadi kan dah panggil. Alif Zuhairi.
Saya.
Muhammad Faiz.
Saya doktor.
Okay. Fadi Fuad Rahman. Daba Aiman. Liu Wei. Are you there, Liu? Taufik? Muhammad Taufik ada?
Ada doktor.
Yeah. Last class on Monday, are you here? Class?
Ada tapi ada tapi tidur.
Tapi ke mana?
Tadi doktor.
Okay, next class is very important on the scheduling. So on Monday nanti I will cover on the scheduling and will be more on the drawing side lah. Okay, on the network diagram and other one is scan chart. Yang itu yang hands on. Alright. I guess yeah. Anda okay. Dia saja nak double check. This is just now. Critical path is the one how. This is how to identify or finding critical path. Okay. Path is the one apa kita panggil laluan. Okay. From Bangi to KL, you have several route you can follow. That is what we are going to calculate jugalah later to do some calculation in terms of finding the critical path. Okay, so first is identify all possible path from the start to finish. Sum up duration from each path. Okay, and there when you do the sum up the duration for each path, then you get the figure, you get the number. Okay, so the largest total apa tu dia punya sum itu is the one that indicates critical path. So that is the one that we usually use lah. Okay, meaning that it almost impossible to calculate or finding critical path if you use this one, right? If you use the table, it's difficult. How you want to identify the path there? Okay, so with this diagram, it's possible. Okay, that's the use of activity network diagram. Okay, you can identify what are the paths, right? Okay, as a simple exercise, can you help me now to identify how many paths we have from here? Play. For example, you identify the path is the one that from T. Okay, from T. Just ignore the M. Okay, identify based on the T. Okay. For example, from left to right, start. So one of the path is T1. Okay. T3, right? Okay, T9, T11, and T12. Okay, which is here start T1, T3, T9, T11, and T12. So you just jot down lah. Write down T1, T3, and then T1 is 8 days plus T3 15 days, T9 15, 11 7 days, 12 is 10 days. So you sum up those days, okay, number of days, and then you get a one number. Okay. Another one, T1, T6, right? Okay, T9, T11, T12. 10. Okay. Another one, T2, okay, T6, T9, T11, T12. So you identify the root, each of the root, and also what numbers of the total number for that particular root, for each of the root. Okay. So that will be your homework. Okay, I'm going to ask this one on Monday. Okay, for the activity network. Give me another 2 minutes, yeah. I want to show you the Gantt chart. Okay, this is activity bar chart or Gantt chart. Ever heard Gantt chart, class? Pernah dengar Gantt chart?
Yes, doctor.
Yes.
So pernah you make the drawing? What tools are you using for the drawing? Any tools application use?
No.
No.
No, doctor.
Ever
Just
heard
pencil and
Microsoft Project? Microsoft Project. It's under Microsoft. Microsoft Project.
We use online website.
Okay, what I want you to do now is that to install, to download Microsoft Project. Maybe if it's supposed to have license, but maybe you can try the trial version. Okay, Microsoft Project. Okay, we are going to use that one for the class as well for your project. So you can make the preparation early. Okay, Microsoft Project. Okay, so this is the one Gantt chart. Usually we can use Microsoft. We can use to draw Gantt chart using Microsoft Project. Okay, which is the layout here. For example, start from the day one, and then you put in all those activities, and then you will know when the project supposed to finish. That can be done in the Microsoft Project. Okay, for the Gantt chart. For a simple one, but inside there actually there are many information. Just putting the very basic information. So what? After you download the Gantt chart, you explore Gantt chart. Download Microsoft Project. Explore how to use. You try on. Maybe you can use this one. This information. The very basic one: task, duration, and dependency. Okay. Each of you have to try, so that from there you understand. But on Monday, we try the hands-on. Okay, how to do the drawing. Okay, supaya so better understand on the scheduling. You have class at 10? Ada kelas nanti at 10?
Ada.
Yes.
Ada.
So this is allocation.
Ada, Doktor.
Habis lah, sekejap So this one is on the, instead of you have the duration, there is
Yes,
another
doctor.
one which is on the staff resources, on the staff assignment. On the left side, Jane, Ali, Gita is the person in charge for the activities. So this is one example on staff allocation. All right. This is Microsoft Project example. Okay, so this is one of the example on the layout lah. When you use Microsoft Project, this is the one that you can show you in terms of the project arrangement lah. Right, so I stop that for today. I'm stop here. Okay, I continue on Monday. Okay, siapa yang absent hari ni? Susah, soalan susah tu. 28 ni, siapa yang absent ni? Kejap okay, SMP. Maras, are you there? Panggil juga. Maras? Maharas? Wasik? Sata Abi?
Yes, doctor.
Who's there? Wasik or Maharas?
Osik.
Wasik. Maharas not here. I think I saw him. Accept him just now. Maliha? Ada Maliha?
Ada doktor.
Rani? Rani? Liu? 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 What happened to Liu? Liu Wei? Are you there? Obichi? Obichi?
Yes, doctor.
Yes, okay. Hiduzaman Shakir?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Alhamdulillah. Muaj?
Yes, doctor, I'm here.
Okay, Aina? Faris? I think Aina is here, right? Faris ada? Taufik? Muhammad Taufik?
Yes, ada doktor.
Okay, Abinesh?
Ya doktor.
Syazwani? Fahim? Syazwani? Fahim? Siapa tu? Fahim ada Fahim? Fahim? Tak ada? Syahrul? Syahrul
Ada.
Tuan Nakis Aisyah?
Ada doktor.
Nurul Syafiqah?
Ada doktor.
Okay, Tuan Izzat?
Ada.
Hanif? Muhammad Hanif? Muhammad Khairi?
Saya.
Khairi ada? Nurul Fatihah?
Ada.
Hasan?
Mesti ada punya.
Anis? Ada punya. Okay, good. Nur Anis?
Yes, yes.
Alif? Zuhairi?
Masih ada,
Masih ada, Alhamdulillah. Nur Zahimah?
Ada.
Mak Faiz ada yang tadi?
Ada.
Lin Jiayin. Lin?
Yes, I'm here.
You just joining the class? I didn't notice your name before. Okay, no problem. Lina, you are there? Abdul Wahab? Abdullah? Syakman Sabab? Zal Zirui? Ada Zal? Are you there? Woi, kat mana tu? Syakman ada? Tak ada. Zal?
Doktor.
Okay. So
Doktor Aina ada.
yeah. I did notice that I accept you. Okay. So that's all class. Sorry for the delay semua. Okay, I tried to comply later. So that is the story on the scheduling. Okay, my chat on the scheduling. Thank you for joining the class. Hope to see you again on Monday. Right. So explanation just now on scheduling. Try your best. Download the Microsoft Project. Okay, make the drawing based on the example from your lecture notes, right? Okay, so for that, bye bye. See you around.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Online.
Dadah.